Hello, I'm Janet Morana, the Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to the program. And of course, I'm sure many of you saw the town halls last night. I know, I only watched one town hall. I watched President Trump's town hall, but I had other friends that were watching the other one just to kind of give me the feedback. And I'm sure you've all discussed it. And I would just like to see more neutral moderators. Savannah Guthrie spent the first 20 minutes basically hammering the president with her own questions instead of, it was supposed to be a town hall, Savannah, which meant you were supposed to let the people that were there that were assigned, okay, you get to ask a question. I felt she wasted 20 minutes of average citizen asking questions. So my attitude is shame on you, Savannah, that you had an agenda. You came in with your agenda and you came in to hammer the president. And of course, I've seen some footage of the Biden town hall. And of course, George Stephanopoulos, it was like old friends night. And they were sitting back casually in their chairs and just chit-chatting casually. And I saw at one point, Biden had to take out a piece of paper to refer to a statistic. Oh, my goodness, The president, of course, on the other hand, I think he was at one or two rallies at least yesterday, or two stops on Air Force One, and got down to Miami in time for the town hall. So God bless him. I don't know how he does it. I mean, I used to, before COVID, be on so many planes, and the president's just amazing how he can jump off and on these planes and boom, at a rally and back on a plane. As a matter of fact, right now, probably immediately following this broadcast, we're going to bring you the president speaking in Ocala, Florida. Matter of fact, he was just in Fort Myers, if you can picture this. He was on the west coast of Florida speaking to senior citizens. And now, excuse me, as we're talking to you, he's at Air Force One, flying across the state. And he'll be touching down shortly in Ocala. And we'll bring that to you right here on EndAbortion.tv as soon as the president takes the stage. So don't think you're going to miss that rally. We're going to bring it to you. I want to remind you that during my show, I want you to ask questions. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about the differences and what's at stake in this election. Of course, joining me this afternoon is our national director, Father Frank Pavone. Welcome to the program,
All
Father.
right. It's great to be with our audience. I see a number of people calling in from key states. It's
Yes.
Georgia,
Yes.
Michigan.
Yes, we want to hear from them if they voted. Tell us if you voted yet. Okay?
Florida, Nevada. These are all. Of course, every state's important. It's just that some states decide earlier than others which way they're going to go.
Exactly.
And but yeah, those are all swing states. And this is the time where we're saying every day's the same thing, in terms of what the top thing on the to-do list is. Get out the vote.
That's right.
We cast our own votes. Great. But we can influence, all of us can influence hundreds of other votes.
Well, that's it, Father. When you voted, if you voted already, your job's not over.
No, it's just begun.
It's just begun because now you've got to get as many other people out there to vote. But the other thing, Father, is we have ways we can help them to protect their ballot, right? That websites and things. Why don't you tell us some of the ways we can protect the ballot?
Well, first of all, votinginfo.org is our main site for finding out the positions of the candidates, which of course is information right now that voters are looking for because they realize it's time to vote. They've gotten the message that it's a duty to vote. They realize the importance of the election, and they realize that pro-life is obviously the central issue. But votinginfo.org is the place where then they can answer that question that naturally arises next, which is, well, where do the candidates stand on these issues?
Right.
Especially candidates that I might not hear too much about in the news. How can I find out where they stand? And that has a lot of info. And I mention that because one of the links on there is to Ballotpedia. Ballotpedia lets you see your ballot.
Right.
And that's a great thing to do ahead of the elections. Let me look at the ballot. The first time we see what's on the ballot, not just the names of the candidates, but any ballot initiatives that there might be, or state referenda, or questions that state is asking its citizens. We don't want the first time we see that to be when we're actually there to cast our vote. Well, we should study it ahead of time, right? And so Ballotpedia does that, but a lot of different links on that votinginfo.org will help people prepare. And I mentioned that you asked about protecting the ballot. That's really the first step of that, is knowing what's on the ballot.
Right.
and then you fill it out. You don't make any mistakes. But then, if you've solicited a ballot to be mailed to you, that's fine. States have been doing that for a long time. Fill it out. But then we recommend bringing it back in person, right?
Yes, absolutely.
If possible.
Yeah.
If you have to mail it in, check in with your Board of Elections. A lot of these state websites have an electronic way of verifying that your ballot arrived.
Right.
In other words, don't let the last step be when the ballot leaves your hand and goes into the mailbox. Follow it through.
Right.
That's important.
Well, I got my absentee ballot. I don't know if you got yours yet, Father, for Florida, but I usually,
not yet.
Okay, I usually get my absentee ballot because normally I might have been on a plane. Normal circumstances, Father. You and I are out there on the road right now speaking, but this is why we're coming to you via our streaming. But I noticed I opened mine up actually today to take a look at it. And there was a big yellow card in there that had certain instructions that I think are very important. First of all, did you know that you need to put, if you're mailing it back, not 1 but 2 stamps on it? I bet you how many people don't do that. So what are they going to do? Is the post office going to return them for insufficient funds? Yeah, they do sometimes if you don't put enough stamps on. There was number 1 instruction. This ballot requires 2 stamps.
It's important to read all the instructions.
The other instruction was only use a black pen to make your selection. That's important because some people just grab whatever pen's handy, or some people go to do it with a pencil. It said no, black pen only.
You imagine people could use any sorts of things, magic marker. Let me get the kids' crayons over here.
Yeah. And then there's also other important instructions about you have to sign your ballot. And then some of them, at least in Florida, we have to fold it a certain way. And then we have to slide it into this inner envelope seal and kind of initial that. And then that goes in the outer envelope. So there's several
very
steps.
Specific instructions.
And if you don't do all those steps correctly, your ballot may not be counted.
Yeah, we have to be careful. We have to take our time.
Careful. And the other thing I did today, which leads to what you were saying, you have to know how to fill everything out. I mean, obviously, I knew who I'm voting for president, and certain things are, congressman. We have a wonderful Republican congressman here where we are in Florida. But now you get down to some of the other things. So I went to iVoterGuide.com, and they gave me a few of the other races. And what they do there, it's totally nonpartisan, 501c3 friendly, because they show the 2 other candidates in the local state races here. And what they said was this one is conservative, and they showed the percentage, like really strong conservative. And then the other one, they go liberal. So you kind of got the picture right there. Where I have to still do more homework, Father, is judges, because the judges, like there was a bunch of judges up, and what we're doing here in Florida is we have to either vote yes to reappoint them or vote no. And if we vote no, if they don't get against yes votes, then our governor, Ron DeSantis, would get to, put in new judges next year. So it's kind of like I said, oh boy, I'm going to have to do more homework. So I'm going to be calling some of the local groups here. That's what I do, or I go on the websites. And the other thing I did, Father, is I plugged in their names, and I went, because they all have websites, every candidate, every judge. And I started reading some of their background, some of the groups that they've been involved with. And that kind of gives you a hint about this person.
The groups they're involved in, buzzwords that they use in their comments on the website, you know. And,
So, brothers and sisters, if you have any questions about my Father and I here with you about voting, your ballot, we want to hear from you, okay? And Father, the other thing I wanted to point out to everyone is our party comparison. Now, we've told you about this in the past a lot.
Yes.
And we're in the final days here to make a big push for this.
Yeah.
Because if you don't order it soon, we won't have time to get it to you for you to get it out there. So you can go to prolifeproducts.org, and that's our online store. And you can click on and order for the election items, party comparison. And this is taken right from the party platform, Republican and Democrats. We even give you the page numbers. So, Father, let's just start with human life. Okay, I'll read the Democrat, and then you'll read the Republican part from the platform now of how they view human life. Okay, so the Democrats, they say, Democrats believe every woman should be able to access abortion. Democrats oppose and will fight to overturn federal and state laws that create barriers to women's reproductive health and rights, including by repealing the Hyde Amendment and protecting and codifying the right to reproductive freedom, from page 42. So, Father, what do the Republicans say?
The Constitution's guarantee that no one can be deprived of life, liberty, or property deliberately echoes the Declaration of Independence's proclamation that all are endowed by their Creator with the inalienable right to life. Accordingly, we assert the sanctity of human life and affirm that the unborn child has a fundamental right to life which cannot be infringed. We support a human life amendment to the Constitution and legislation to make clear that the 14th Amendment's protections apply to children before birth. That's pretty strong.
And that comes from page 13.
That's as strong as what you see in church documents.
Exactly. I mean, so, when looking at the ballot about candidates, Father, I mean, you have the D and you have the R. It's right after the name, right? So if you vote for a Democrat, then this is what you're voting for, what I just read, right?
Well, including getting rid of the Hyde Amendment, the Democrats, what that means is they want us to pay for abortion. The Hyde Amendment protects our taxpayer money from a large part of our taxpayer money from going for abortion. I mean, And
I've also heard some of the candidates on the Democratic side say that they want to codify Roe v. Wade into law. You've heard that, right, Father?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like what they want to do then. And if they got to do that, guess what? A lot of the state laws that have protected the unborn would be.
Well, they want to get rid of it. Well, that's what they're saying here. See, they use language that it's not always self-evident what it means.
It's code
But
language.
if you look at it carefully,
right.
We oppose and will fight to overturn federal and state laws that create barriers to women's reproductive health and rights. You have to take that language and see how it has been interpreted and utilized by Democrats in court battles against pro-life laws. What they consider a barrier to reproductive women's health and rights, look at the example of the Supreme Court case that was just decided a few months ago out of Louisiana.
That's
They
right.
considered a regulation that increased the safety standards of the abortion facilities to be a barrier to women's health and rights because then some of the abortionists wouldn't be able to get hospital admitting privileges. This is what they're talking about here. They want to get rid of reasonable clinic regulations. They want to get rid of parental involvement laws. They want to get rid of all restrictions and regulations on abortion. All of them.
Well, their policy basically is abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy for any reason whatsoever.
Or no
apology.
reason at all. No apology.
Reason at
all. No
all.
apology, no restriction.
So, brothers and sisters, once again, just to remind you, this is our party comparison. You can order it free of charge at prolifeproducts.org. Please do it today. I have my staff coming in over the weekend to process these orders, and we'll get them out to you right away. We're sending all these orders out priority mail. And then, Father, why don't you just explain to them, we have a legal letter that goes with this, don't we, that says this is okay to be handed out, a 501c3 friendly document, right?
It is. Well, because it doesn't give any editorial comment or preference from
It's
one
just
to another.
from the platform.
Doesn't make any endorsements.
Right.
It's perfectly legitimate legally for churches and other tax-exempt groups to use.
Right. Well, before we read another one of these, let's just see if our producer has any questions from our viewers.
Well, I saw a good question that somebody had about Pope Francis and multiple issues. She was asking, yes, Christy. Hi, Christy. Some have said Pope Francis says not to be one-issue voters. This influences Christians to vote all other issues, not just abortion. What do you think? Well, certainly there are other issues. Everybody knows there are other issues, and people can take into account as many different issues as they want. But an issue is not an issue at all if the right to life is not there, because then why is an issue an issue? Poverty is an issue because human life is sacred. Unemployment is an issue because human life is sacred. Terrorism, healthcare. These are all issues because human life is sacred. What you do when you take a pro-choice position, quote unquote, is that you undermine all those other issues. You make them irrelevant. Now, Pope John Paul II said, unless you defend the right to life with maximum determination, the cry for human rights on these other issues he said is false
And illusory.
and illusory. So the point is not whether there are other issues.
No.
The point is, how are they all interconnected? If you don't defend the right to life, like the Democrats don't do, well, then I don't want to hear about your health care plan because it's meaningless.
Well, you have to be born first before you take care of it.
Right.
And that's what it makes me so crazy right now about the Democrats, because they will not even protect a baby that's born alive in a failed abortion. They're saying, nope, just let the baby lay there to die.
They have no conscience.
No conscience
These
whatsoever.
people are a disaster.
Right.
They are a disaster. They have no conscience. They're sick. These people are sick.
I know. So, Father, I think we have another question. Let's read it. It's Pam Taylor. Let's see.
Could we be forced to pay for abortions again if Biden wins? Well, yes, absolutely pay for absolutely. That's exactly what he's saying here.
That's right.
That we want to get rid of the Hyde Amendment and any other laws that quote create barriers to abortion. Well, they consider laws that protect our tax money from abortion to be creating barriers. But then let's put her question back up there, because she asks about the Little Sisters case. Now, paying for abortion also, what are our rights if that occurs? Well, that's an interesting question. What are our rights if that occurs? Because what President Trump has done, he has such respect for the conscience rights of citizens that he instituted under the Department of Health and Human Services. There is an Office of Civil Rights, which takes complaints if people feel their civil rights have been violated. Because remember, the executive branch of government is meant to enforce the laws. He established a division within that Office of Civil Rights specifically for conscience and religious freedom.
Right.
And that was for the purpose of if citizens feel they're being forced to violate their conscience under the law, then they can issue a complaint. It's a website there, hhs.gov/OCR, Office of Civil Rights. And there's actually a place there where you can lodge a complaint, even a third-party complaint, for violations of conscience. So the problem is, the good thing is that the president has put that office there. We can complain if we believe our civil rights are being violated, our rights of conscience. Trump administration has taken action, for example, to protect people in California, because the state tried to impose a policy that said that health insurers have to include abortion. And people say, well, wait a minute, this violates existing federal law. You can't force, people to pay for abortion, or insurance companies to pay for abortion if there's conscientious objection. And so the Trump administration actually notified the state of California that they couldn't do this.
Right.
And there are various other examples too, nurses who have been forced to participate in abortion. Now, the problem is that if Biden were in there, he'd likely get rid of that office altogether and reverse the protections that President Trump is providing. So in those cases, the best protection in those cases is going to be vote these people out.
Right.
They get voted in and we got to vote them back out.
Well, and another example, Father, and I think we have a picture to remind everybody of that we, like the Little Sisters, were in the Supreme Court. There I am with one of the sisters. This was the day the case was being heard in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And of course, we know that if it wasn't for President Trump, we probably wouldn't be talking to our audience right now for the fines that would have been imposed on not just the Little Sisters, but Priests for Life.
I'm a little concerned that people talking about this issue need to understand.
Right.
This mandate that we were fighting, we had our own case.
Right.
The Little Sisters had theirs. Ours was accepted by the Supreme Court. Then they accepted several other cases, and including also, the Little Sisters.
Father, we were with the Diocese of Pittsburgh and Erie. Right.
Archdiocese of Washington, Catholic University of America, Thomas Aquinas College, various Christian universities of other denominations, and then including those cases that did not get all the way to the Supreme Court, included EWTN.
That's right.
And by the way, this included practically every employer in America. The concern I have is that if people are only talking about it in terms of the Little Sisters, people might think, oh, well, that's ridiculous. The fact that they're asking
a bunch of nuns
forcing
to pay
nuns
for contraception.
That makes it more absurd.
Right.
But it doesn't show the whole scope of the problem.
No.
You have to understand, we're talking about something that applies to every employer in the country.
Right.
Religious or not religious. That's why the Hobby Lobby company had to go fight the same mandate.
Right.
All employers. There's some exemptions carved out, but practically speaking, this is across the board.
What President Trump did by executive order, he held it back, the HHS mandate.
Yes, he said you have an objection. We're not going to force you.
We're not going to force you.
That's right.
And Vice President Biden, during his campaign speeches, he has said on day one, if I'm inaugurated on day one, he's told us he's going to reverse that executive order of President Trump, and he's going to enforce the mandate on the Little Sisters and all of us.
This man is not a devout Catholic. This man is an enemy to Catholics.
That's right.
He's an enemy to religious freedom. He's an enemy to America. He's an enemy to the unborn. He's an enemy, brothers and sisters, to you and me and to our families and to our church. The man is an enemy, and he's got to be kept out of office.
Right. He does. There's so much at stake. Well, Father, let's just quickly read one more in a little bit of time we have left here. Well, everyone's talking about judges so much. Why don't we read the one about judges? I'm going to read the Democrat, and then you can read the Republican. And for judges, it says, we will appoint U.S. Supreme Court justices and federal judges who look like America and will respect and enforce foundational precedents, including Roe v. Wade, coming from page 39.
They just come right out and say it.
Come right and say it.
Yeah.
We're going to put judges in there that are going to keep making abortion legal, and we're going to do everything possible. And that's why, watching these Senate hearings this week with Amy Coney Barrett, they can be more plainer than the nose on their faces. This is exactly what they're saying in their party platform.
All right. Well, I want to comment on what they say here. Let me read the Republicans' quote on this. We support the appointment of judges who respect traditional family values and the sanctity of innocent human life.
And that's page 13.
Isn't that refreshing?
That's very refreshing.
But look at this Democrat quote, though. First of all, it contradicts itself. You know how it contradicts itself? Because they say, first of all, we want the courts to look like America. I thought the courts were supposed to look like the Constitution.
Yeah, like the Constitution.
What do you mean look like America? So
mean?
In other words, you have to have, what are they going to do? Like racial profiling and make sure, what in the world are you
That's
talking
a very vague term.
Ideologically like America, so you have to have, people. The courts aren't supposed to look like America. It's supposed to look like the Constitution. Secondly, though, if you say you're going to look like America, but then you say you're going to uphold Roe v. Wade, that doesn't look like America.
No.
Because the American people have never agreed with the policy of Roe v. Wade. They'll say they agree with Roe v. Wade because they don't know what Roe v. Wade says. But when they know what Roe v. Wade says, they reject it because what it says is abortion throughout pregnancy.
Right.
So do you want the courts to look like America or do you want them to look like Roe v. Wade?
Right.
They can't get their act together because they don't know what they're talking about.
Exactly. Father, poll after poll after poll shows that most Americans think abortion only happens in the first trimester. And also same polls show that Americans are horrified and against late-term abortion. We know that based on the polls. So, Father, do we have another question?
Yes, Carmen is asking about David Daleiden, our colleague and friend in the pro-life movement. He'd been charged by Kamala Harris, by the way.
Yes.
Harris prosecuted
him, yes.
For his undercover work of the corruption of Planned Parenthood and other abortion organizations. If Amy Barrett is confirmed, can David turn the case to the Supreme Court? They are in the court system. And there are ongoing battles there that could be appealed.
Right.
But I'm not sure that the Supreme Court is. I think they had, because several cases going on at the same time.
Well, there's
a
civil
case. They had,
and,
and I think they had asked for intervention that was not granted just yet, but it's ongoing, though.
But we should quickly mention, Father, that Kamala Harris had deep connections to Planned Parenthood. She was running for U.S. Senate. Planned Parenthood was donating to her campaign to run for the Senate to get elected. And at the same time, as Attorney General, She sent the marshals in there to raid David's apartment, it was like
to protect Planned Parenthood.
To protect Planned Parenthood.
This is a conflict of
interest.
interest.
If this is not a conflict of interest, please tell me. And there's been pictures, we've shown them on this program before, of her at Planned Parenthood fundraisers for them.
Yeah.
She's been speaking at their fundraisers. They funded her campaign for the Senate. I'm guaranteeing you, I know, follow the money. They've also been funding Biden and Harris for President VP. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. They always say, follow the money. Well, Father, I think maybe we have one more quick question before we have to wrap up.
A friend of mine is convinced Kathy is saying that she must vote Biden because he's Catholic. What do you say to people like her? Well, we say, first of all, nothing in the Catholic faith says that we elect somebody because they're Catholic.
Right.
Nothing. The church doesn't say that. There's nothing in any document that says that. Secondly, what kind of Catholic destroys the Catholic Church? The man has already said he would reinstitute the mandate that forced us and the Diocese of Pittsburgh and Erie and Washington and Catholic University of America and EWTN to go into court to defend our right to live that very same Catholic faith that he pretends to practice.
And they would
he's
fine
a fake.
us. We would have fines.
Listen, the answer is he's a fake. He does not protect and love and live the Catholic faith. He just doesn't. And it has nothing to do, but there's no religious test for public office. Whether you are fit to be president. I mean, I supported when Mitt Romney was running as the Republican nominee. Yeah, we supported him fully as it being better than the alternative.
Well, pro-life.
Yeah, but the point is this, that you don't evaluate your vote for president based on a person's religion. You evaluate your vote for president based on how well the person is going to fulfill the role of president. And Biden, he wants more and more abortion. He wants to restrict the freedom of the church. He wants socialism. He's a puppet for the radical left.
Absolutely.
Right, Janet? He's not.
No, yeah.
This is
absolutely.
not his idea. Like the president keeps pointing this out. It's the radical left of the party that is now in charge of the Democrats.
That's right. Well, Father, thank you for joining me this afternoon. And just wanted one more time remind everyone, I'm going to go down we don't have time to read anymore. You'll have to get your copy, but it's Human Life, Planned Parenthood, Judges, School Choice, Sex Ed, and Foreign Assistance. It's a great guide. This will help like people like that lady that said, oh, but Biden's Catholic. And then you have to say, oh, but wait a minute. Let's read what Biden is in favor of here. Let's just read the party platform. So you can get that. Please go to prolifeproducts.org right now and place your order. We'll get them out to you over the weekends and distribute them. I always tell everyone, Father, someone took my advice. We've been hearing from people. I said, get out your Christmas card list. Go to the dollar store, get a package of envelopes, and mail these out now to all your friends, right? As they're in the process of voting.
Well, in Christmas card, I mean, go look into your contacts in your phone.
Your phone.
Look at your email address book.
That's right.
Look at your social media friends and contacts. But I mean, carefully, slowly, and deliberately take the time. We've been doing this, and all election season we've been doing this. Slowly, carefully, deliberately take the time, go through one by one, and ask yourself: have I contacted this person about the election? And also, what sphere of influence do they have
exactly
that they can contact other voters and then talk to them about the importance of it?
Right. Well, Father, it is time to leave, but can we have a quick blessing before we go?
All right. We're going to watch the rally of the president now.
Yes.
Here in Florida. Not too far from here.
Not
too far from here. I was with him the other night when he was not too far from here.
I know.
Friends, watch the president's rallies. There's 2 of them today. The one here now in Florida. Then there's one, Janet, at 7 p.m. tonight Eastern time from Georgia. When you listen to those speeches, you get fired up. Well, may the Lord fire you up over this election. May he bless and protect you always. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Okay. That's Janet for now. Tune in again next time. God bless.